At that point, it looked like this mom would be having twins because her stomach became very big. But the doctors did find something very shocking. Lauren Perkins was sitting in front of her desk and putting on lipstick. When she looked in the mirror, she smacked her lips and turned her head back and forth to make sure she liked how she looked. "I promise, honey, you look beautiful," her husband Dave said as he stood at the door. "Let's leave now or we'll be late for the doctor's appointment," he begged. Dave had been quietly waiting for her to get dressed all morning, and whenever she asked him what he thought of a dress she was trying on, he told her how nice it looked. She tried on at least 3 dresses before making up her mind. She wasn't sure what to do with her hair or how much makeup to wear. She wanted to look nice and re-energized. She told her husband that she didn't want to look tired all the time while she was pregnant. Dave had to try a few more times to get her to agree that she could go to the doctor's office. They were happy because today was a big day for them. The doctor would let them know that they were going to have their twins, which made them very happy. During their first visit, the doctor told them that Lauren had a lot of human chorionic gonadotropin, HCG, a hormone that is made by the placenta during pregnancy. It tells the body to stop menstruating and helps the lining of the uterus get thicker so that a baby can grow safely. After getting pregnant, HCG levels keep going up until about 10 weeks into the pregnancy. Because Lauren had a lot of HCG, she was likely pregnant with more than one child. Lauren and Dave both let out gasps of shock. It was exciting to think that they would be having twins. After 18 months of trying to get pregnant, it felt like a prize. At first, they thought Lauren's almost extreme exercise level was the reason they weren't getting pregnant right away. The couple thought that the fact that she ran a lot might have something to do with the fact that her periods were not coming on time. But Lauren had a hard time cutting back on how much she ran because running was distracting her. It took her mind off of having babies, which was what she had been thinking about. She was 28 years old and worked as a school counselor with kids who had special needs. Dave wasn't that much older than her, and he worked for a business. They made a good living together and could afford to have twins, even though that wasn't what they had planned. They had planned to have 2 children, a boy and a girl, 2 to 3 years apart at first. However, when trying to get pregnant naturally didn't work, they looked into ways to get pregnant with help. Due to their desire to have children, they were willing to risk a lot of money to do it. Lauren took medicine to help her ovulate weeks before she went for artificial insemination. That meant getting shots for 2 weeks. There was a 25% chance that the process would work, and there was also a 25% chance that the woman would have twins. With as few as 1% chance, it was possible to have triplets, quadruplets, or other multiple kids. In spite of this, Lauren was pregnant 2 weeks after getting the shots. A high amount of HCG had also been seen in her body. Because of this, an ultrasound was planned. The doctor began to count how many cells he could see on the screen while the ultrasound was going on. There was 1, then 2. Lauren and Dave smiled at each other. They were ready for the doctor to say that the scan was over, but instead they got the biggest surprise of their lives. The doctor kept going with the count. "It looks like I see 3, 4, or 5 cells," the doctor said. "Wow, that's a lot." The couple was shocked. They looked at the doctor like he had grown horns. He had to be kidding, right? People didn't often have triplets, let alone quadruplets or even quintuplets. They only wanted 2 kids, not that many. It wasn't over though. Because of what was going on, the doctor said he felt like counting again to make sure he was right. They told him to, hoping he was wrong and they weren't going to have quintuplets. It turned out that their prayers were not heard. Things got worse when the doctor found the 6th egg that he had missed the first time around. They were going to have sextuplets. An unknown number of seconds passed, and the only sound in the exam room was the ringing of medical equipment. It looked like the doctor was going to drop his mouth. The woman holding that many embryos was the first time in his life that he had seen something like that. The couple had mixed emotions. They were happy to be parents, scared that many things could go wrong, and stunned that they were having so many at once. She grabbed David's hand and squeezed it. To let her know he was with her and wouldn't leave, he kissed the back of her hand. Both of them were sad as they drove home. Were they really going to have 6 kids? It seemed so far away that they tried not to think about it. Lauren hadn't even begun to show. After a few days, the doctor called and told him to come back to his office. The doctor consulted a few of his colleagues, and they had advice for the couple. They got right to work and told the couple about the selective reduction choice. Since 6 kids would be too many and fight for oxygen and food, they would kill some embryos to help the others have a better chance of living. It gave them a few weeks to think about it. During that time, Lauren couldn't stop looking at the sonograms. With awe, she looked at each cell as if they were already babies who had been born. She loved her babies more and more as she did this, and she couldn't bear to lose any of them. He made more sense. He thought about each cell and couldn't believe that these lives were growing inside his wife's body. He did remember, though, what the doctor said about giving the kids a better chance of living. Dave came around after he talked to her. She sobbed and begged him not to make her do it. How could she stand to lose any of her kids on purpose? He was patient with her because he knew what she was going through because he had been there too. Not only did it hurt him, but they needed to look into it. Resigned, Lauren agreed, and the two of them talked about which baby to save. But they didn't see much the more they looked. It looked like all of the fetuses were healthy and growing properly. It looked like all 6 of the kids would be okay. They told the doctor what they were going to do, and he agreed with them completely. It was hard to choose which kids to keep. They were aware that it would be hard for them in every way. They knew they couldn't do it by themselves, so they began telling close family and friends months before the event. During the early years of the kids' lives, they needed help from everyone. How many people did it take to raise 6 kids if it took a village to raise 1? A lot. The two also put their faith in God to take care of Lauren and the babies. Lauren's health was getting worse as her pregnancy went on. Her feet and face were also very swollen, as well as her stomach. She was always uncomfortable and had to keep moving around when she was sitting or lying down. Her desire to give birth was strong, but she couldn't because having the kids too soon would lower their chances of survival. She and Dave were told by the doctor that it would be safer for the sextuplets to be born around 30 weeks. He used a comparison to make his point clear. Triplets born at 25 weeks have higher risks than sextuplets born at 30 weeks. Also, kids who are born before their due dates often have serious mental or physical problems. A planned C-section was done in Lauren's 13th week of pregnancy. There were 35 doctors and nurses in the room on the day she gave birth, and they worked together to care for each baby. 6 sets of 6 babies were born between 10:26 and 10:30 a.m. when they were taken out of Lauren's stomach. During the surgery, Lauren decided to stay awake, so Dave was in the room with her. She got to see her tiny babies before teams of doctors took them to the neonatal intensive care unit. Kids ranged in weight from 2 pounds 15 ounces to 1 pound 10 ounces. Neonatologists said that babies who were born with a low birth weight were more likely to have problems in the weeks after they were born. For a long time, they needed to be kept safe and watched over. Lauren met her babies 4 days after giving birth. Allison was the first child she held in her arms. Allison had been fussy and crying and wouldn't calm down. She became quiet as soon as Lauren held her. She seemed to know that her mother had come to get her. Her eyes were filled with tears of happiness. Lauren had 9 children: Andrew, Noah, Benjamin, Luke, Levi, Thomas, Allison, Kate, Carolyn, Grace, and Leah Michelle. Lauren went to check on all of her kids and saw that they were all okay. But the doctor saw something very bad. It was Michelle Leah. She was barely alive because her lungs and other parts, like her brain, hadn't fully developed. Leah got the least oxygen and nutrients while she was in the womb because she was hidden under her brothers and sisters. Because of this, Leah might need to live with her folks for the rest of her life. Lauren stormed out of the doctor's office and down the hospital hallway in a rage when she heard this. People turned away because they could tell she was in a bad mood. The nurses jumped out of the way fast. Dave tried to catch her, but she was going too quickly. He was able to catch up with her while they were outside. She screamed and put her hands on her knees before he could ask what was wrong. She started screaming so hard that she broke down in tears. Dave grabbed her by the arms and held on. He wasn't sure what to say to make things better. During a hiccup, Lauren said she felt bad about Leah's state. If only she had paid attention when the doctors told her to do selective reduction. Leah might not be in so much pain right now. Dave made Lauren look really hard into his eyes and told her it wasn't her fault. One of the most selfless things she did was give up everything to give birth to her kids. Lauren jumped into his arms and thanked him for the compliment. He gave her a back rub and told her they would do their best and be okay. The babies went to the hospital for 4 months and then came home one by one. Leah was the last one. This gave Lauren time to heal and get used to things again, so she was ready to take care of her babies when they got home. But she had a lot of help. There were a lot of family and friends around. Lauren and Dave came up with a shift system so that people who volunteered would know exactly what they had to do. Friends agreed to help feed the babies in the middle of the night, bathe the babies, and do the cleaning. She got up every night to make bottles for the next 24 hours. Then she put them in the fridge and labeled them so everyone knew which bottle belonged to which child. This had to be done because the sextuplets had different food needs. She used 4 different kinds of formula milk at one point. The volunteers were so kind that they fed Lauren and Dave dinner every night for a whole year. A lot of people also gave away important things. The mixture costs a lot of money and usually runs out quickly. When their friends had baby showers, she asked for diapers. For the kids' birthdays, she asked for clothes and more diapers. Lauren didn't have to buy diapers for the first 2 years after all. She was very careful and only changed the baby's diapers a few times, which is how she was able to potty train them. Even though there were some falls, Lauren and Dave tried to enjoy their kids' childhood because they knew it would be the last time they would be parents. There would be no other first day of school or walk. As the sextuplets got closer to 10 years old, they all got used to things. Except for Leah, they went on trips, played soccer, swam, and rode bikes. She still couldn't walk or talk, and she went to a school for disabled kids. Lauren was able to raise Leah better because she had worked as a counselor with kids who had special needs. Brain palsy was the name of Leah's illness. She often had pain in her muscles and bones. One night, Leah was in so much pain that she couldn't fall asleep and she couldn't cry out loud. She couldn't stop whimpering in pain, and tears and sweat were all over her face. Someone in her family woke up to go to the bathroom and found her like that. They then woke everyone up. Her brothers stood around her, put their hands together, and prayed for her. They held her while she cried and told her she would feel better soon. Lauren and Dave were already planning to take Leah to the hospital right away when they were done. Leah kept going to physical therapy and doing everything else her doctors told her to do. There was nothing that looked like it was working. It looked like she was stuck in a cycle of just surviving. The fact that her brothers thought of creative ways to include her in everything they did showed how much they loved her. They took walks with her, took her to the park, and took her to the playground. They would carefully move her on the slide and then push her down. She loved it because she always smiled and shrugged to show she was ready to keep going. Even though Leah couldn't talk, that didn't stop her from coming up with a creative way to talk to her family. Everyone loved her smile. It made their day. She gave her all to enjoy life the way she knew how. People would push her on a special swing that she had, and she loved it. She was always so happy about that. So what do you think about this story? Let us know in the comment section below. But one day, something strange happened. As Leah leaned against the tree, she watched her brothers play soccer in the backyard. It came down right in front of her after one of them kicked the ball. They turned around to go get it, but to their surprise, Leah leaned over and slowly picked it up. When she tried to throw it to them, it slipped out of her hands and rolled a few feet away. After a short moment of silence, her brothers began to shout and jump for joy. They told her their parents what had just happened. Everyone came together to party with her because it was a big step forward. Somehow, this gave Leah's family hope that she would beat all chances and one day be able to walk on her own. There are 12 of them now, and they are closer than ever. Leah is still not able to walk or talk, but she is happy. She is lucky to have 5 brothers and parents who love her and want to give her everything. Her family doesn't worry about what will happen to her. They're just taking things one day at a time and hope for the best.